This is the lesson number 6 of our series Learn and Improve. And this lesson about the King's Indian, about the King's Gambit opening. This King's Gambit opening is very aggressive, and you must prepare it very well and to play it uh, against your level player. Because if you don't know it very well, you may backfire from your opponent and you lose. So this opening is very old, about 400 years. Maybe the most the top players of the world played. So it's very respectful, but you have to be very prepared. Like Alyoshin played, Spassky, Fischer, Kasparov, even Carlsen played. We are going to see now some plans in this opening, how to play it, how to improve, how to develop our pieces, and how to start the attack. Our first game is between the ex-world champion Alexander Alyoshin against someone called Stepan Levitsky. It's in the year 1913, very old, about 108 years. So let's start. E4, E5. This is the F4. This is the setup or the starting moves for the King's Gambit. And now Black have many responses. He can take on F4 or play D6 or even D5 uh, or maybe Knight C6 or Bishop C5. Let's see how the game continues. Okay, this is the King's Gambit accepted. Uh, always we have to take care of this check and not to let our opponent use this check against us. Bishop c4, Mr. Alyoshin played a direct attack on f7. Okay, knight f6 development normally. Knight c3 also development and protecting the pawn on e4. And now bishop to b4 attacking the knight. So we can take, so black can take this pawn also. Knight to knight g to e2, protecting the knight on c3. And now d5, excellent move. Probably this is the best. This is the notes with this game. Okay, and now we have many responses. Maybe knight take, maybe bishop take, but Alyoshin played e take d5. And now f3. F3 is very good move. At the right moment, black damages his opponent's pawn structure. And this is very important because now the pawn structure around the king is very weak, and the black can start attacking the pawns and the weaknesses, and the white king is still in the center. Okay, g take f, castling, excellent. And now d4 from Alyoshin, and this is normally, and this is uh, how to say, this is normal move because our queen side is not developed yet, and this king side is very weak. So it's normally to try to castle to the queen side. Bishop to h3, and this is not the good move because obviously white is not going to castle on the king side. So uh, it's useless to play bishop h3 and wasting a tempo. Maybe we can play knight take d5 directly, exerting more pressure on c3. Okay, bishop to g5, and now Mr. Aliu can start his attacking moves. Bishop to g2, also uh, not very effective. Anyway, the white loves to get his rook to g1 and to face the black king. Rook g1, bishop f3, and queen to d2. Now white is ready to castle. Bishop to e7. Now black start to retreat, and this is bad. This is not good. Castling, and bishop to h5. Also white retreating. Rook to e1, rook d to e1. Now almost all white pieces preparing for the attack. Knight bd7, knight to f4, attacking the bishop on h5, and maybe more. Bishop to g6, h4, and now h4, maybe h5 to attack the bishop. Rook to e8, queen to g2, full power for the g file, and bishop to f8, protecting g7. h5, attacking the bishop, bishop to f5, and now sacrifice of a knight on e6, and opening this diagonal also, and now this file, and maybe this and this. So white with a full power attack against the black king. Okay, f take, f take, and now the king goes to the corner. So white takes back his piece. Rook take e1, rook take e1, and bishop take d7. And now the pieces are level, and the pawns also equal, but the black king is in the corner under the white attack, and all white's pieces are developed, but black rook is not doing much. This bishop just protecting this pawn, and this knight cannot move, so black in trouble. Now h6, of course, to attack g7. Bishop c6, attacking the queen, blocking. Okay, so what to do? Going back to d7. Rook to f1, also more pressure on f6. b5, useless move. I don't know why playing this. Bishop b3, queen to e8, trying to unpin the queen. And d6, d6, opening the diagonal for the bishop. Knight to h5, maybe trying to protect more and more the g7 pawn. Bishop to f7, attacking the queen and the knight. Queen to e5, and now thank you very much, blunder, and Mr. Levitsky resigned. So this is a sample how to develop our pieces and to try to attack and use the open files and diagonals. Now the next game with uh, Grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura against Grandmaster Michael Adams in 2011. Okay, e4, e5, f4. Okay, the king's gambit. E take f4, knight f3, normal development, and now d5 from Mr. Michael Adams. Okay, ed5, knight f6, attacking the pawn on d5, bishop c4, now protecting and developing at the same time. Knight take d5 and castle. Of course, it's better to castle uh, quickly and to start our attack. Bishop e6. Also, black is very strong grandmaster and developing his pieces and protecting also the knight on d5. Bishop to b3, protecting the bishop, of course, from any fork like this or discovered check, discovered attack, something like that. c5, also a good move. Now this c5 maybe can press against the bishop. And now king to h1. Mr. Nakamura commented on this move and say that must be wrong by his judgment for this position, for this move. Okay, knight to c6 and now d4 with a slight advantage for black now. But let's see how to continue. c4, c4, this better for black. Now bishop a4, of course, bishop to d6, completing the development and ready to castle. b3, attacking the pawn and opening the diagonal for the bishop. But c3 now preventing the bishop from coming to b2. Queen d3, castle, bishop takes c6, bc6, knight c3. Of course, now white start to complete his development and getting his pieces ready for attack. Rook e8, knight take, bishop take, but now black with the two bishops may have slight advantage. Let's see how the game continues. c4, bishop e4, attacking the queen, queen c3, and a5. a3, preventing the bishop from coming to b4. f6. Okay, f6 with many purposes, I think, preventing the knight from coming to e5 and g5, and also maybe giving the bishop the chance to go to e5 if any chance will come. And that's all I know for now. Bishop to b2, now this diagonal. Rook to a7, okay, now defending this pawn and maybe coming to d7 or e7. Rook to d1, of course, very important rule. When you can get your rook in front or facing the queen, this is the better to play. Rook to e7, rook a to e7, b4, ab, ab, and king to h8, queen to b3, and now rook to b7, pressing against b4, bishop to c3, protecting b4, queen to b8, more pressure against b4. And now, okay, Nakamura decided to sacrifice this pawn for advancing his c and d pawns. and this is a good strategy. Now, before attacking the bishop, bishop to d2, bishop to f8, retreating, rook to e1, of course. Uh, when any piece blocking the rooks, okay, either we move the piece or we get the rook to an open file. Okay, now g5. Well, okay, Mr. Adams is very strong grandmaster, but as I know, if you move your pawns around your king, you are creating weaknesses. Let's see how the games continue. Queen to c4, and now g4, attacking the knight. Knight to h4. Uh, there would be a relatively easy win after b3 now, but Mr. Adams uh, played f3. This this move, knight to h4, protecting g2, and now f3, d5. Okay, now the c and d pawns start to advance and getting more and more dangerous. Okay, fg2 check, knight take, bishop f3, and king g1. I'm pinning the knight. Rook c8 and c6. Now, as we see, cd pawns are very active and very dangerous. Rook to b5, knight to f4. Now, all the black pieces in the back rank passive without any attack. Now, and cd pawns are the stars of the game. Now, bishop c5 check. Well, bishop e3, of course, we block. Bishop e3, and this is the final turning point as a note on this game. Sad. After queen b6, Adams could still have forced his opponent to play precisely, like queen to c1, bishop take, queen take, rook take, bishop take d5, and rook, knight take d5, rook take d5, and rook f6, and king g7, and this is slightly better for black. But in the game, black took on e3, rook take e3, queen b6, pinning, rook fe1, defending the rook, and now b3. And b3, it's not good for black, as a note on the game. Queen to c3, attacking f6, and also monitoring b2, rook to f8, knight e6, attacking the rook, b2, and now c7, and this is the final move, and Mr. Adams resigned. And this is a small sample of the King's Gambit opening, very aggressive opening, and could be dangerous for the both sides. So if you want to play this opening, you have to prepare it very well. Thank you for watching, and see you next lesson.